Meditations on a Year of High Consequence, Day 4. And it is February 5th, 2026. And let's calmly try to get more focused, specific, practical, and maybe even a tad seemingly realistic, perhaps. Even though I am a utopian, but we're in a real world of real consequences. You can get up to date on all the crazy politics if you want to. But let's start with these videos right here. I've got a YouTube channel, so there's possibly a handful of new people checking it out. And what we're looking for at this point is allies. Otherwise, I'm using YouTube. I started by posting there to get the transcripts because it's a moment of targeted outreach now. I'm still focusing exactly what I'm saying message-wise. And I joke sometimes that I'm channeling my higher self from the now. That was reacting to some dude channeling himself from the future. He's made quite a career out of it. I got no, you know. I was like, oh wow, huh? I could channel myself, my higher self from the present. And sometimes it feels like that. And I'm recommending what I posted both to my Facebook and YouTube. I posted today from 2 years ago, a half hour where I get into a lot of our different points that need to be made about where we are and how things can move forward. But right now, where we are is things need to hit the ground. And the talking to video thing, well, it just needs to be in tandem with real projects. So this is, I'm looking for allies. Let's get to some practical matters here. The first thing we could need is a website and a directory of other projects. That's not the first thing. There's going off in a lot of directions at the same time. But we have a situation. Let's just jump around. The politics is that we've got 3 years of economy on steroids in the United States, and it's an opportunity to address all these new businesses. And everybody's coming back with industrialization, and we're going to do mass production in America. Well, geez, that needs to be informed a little better if we're going to get to a new future. So is there a timeline where we're going to be able to reach these new ventures that quick? The only way to do that is to continue to hammer at the actual concepts on paper in proposals respectfully to venture capitalists, suggesting we need a planet that actually survives. You want to have whatever credit you have, call it money, call it what you will, based on real resources. Doesn't help to have it on precious metals. It needs to be on actual usable resources. We need to really bring our whole economy back to wise use. And in that, if we do that intelligently enough, trying to avoid the conflicts on the way to get there, because there will be natural conflicts in terms of self-interest in the marketplace. But if people really rally around their self-interest as community members, if you want to break it down into consumers and you want to try to hold on to a job, so consumer and production units, and to be able to be the master of your fate in both of those arenas, you need to be basically the owner on some level, co-op owner, or at least have sufficient agency with the means of production. This is where, people start thinking communism sees the means of production. No, what the hell is that? That's your invoking force and pointing fingers. And that's the whole left is based on that whole notion still that anybody creating production is inherently selfish and self-serving. And so that's, whereas on, we just quickly review that. The right wing, low point of the right wing is think, yeah, we're just going to take care of ourselves and the rest of you go fuck yourself. And that was New York. I'm trying to avoid that. But because we can be respectful and we need to be talking to each other intelligently in the next few years. And the sooner we can talk to these new venture capitalist money that's coming from all over the world. Here's the amazing thing. We do this quick. How fast can it move? Well, some people in the 5D and, even how soon is Jehovah, going to break out the trumpets and all this? Yeah, who knows? Things are moving really fast, right? Well, and from the 5D dimension of ascension into the higher 5D means uh, a dimension of higher connectivity is what that's about. And supposedly I'm just going to meet the right people. So let's make that happen. Hey, it's time to make it happen. But there's the idea that this is going to come together. There's a lot of places to lose myself on this. We're in a moment where it comes together, and the first practical project is what happens to these videos. Um, so you can share them. Please share them to other people that are going to try to get involved with projects that involve defining a new higher order economy, how we can reach it. Yeah, seizing the means of production. No, we're going to create the new means of production. There's my thread. And not have to be, because the high synthesis, there's all this talk from the 5D of the one mind and how it all comes together. And yet you have, because there's a lot of liberal energy, shall we say, left energy amongst the 5D, what I was calling Buddhite, the non-theistic metaphysics that talks about the one source, which are seen as real. But they get liberal about it, and then they say, yeah, the one mind, let's all join together and point at the elites who are evil. Uh-huh. Okay, where's your one mind thing? Where's the oneness of it? And the elites are none other than some of us who have been effective at mastering this crazy system. And it's not crazy. You can see clearly how it would happen from the natural incentive in a big system when the you know, the building blocks are everyone in it for themselves. How is it not going to be some kind of a mafia? You're going to have mafias versus established, quote unquote, governments that are backed up by more mafia and cabal and everybody trying to self-serve. And you got the mafias because the only way to really further as humans in a society is to work together. So working together gets subverted into like, so the cabals were going to like, or, once you recognize you're working together, you can do it intelligently. That's what co-ops are. Communities used to be, tribes used to be even more effectively in terms of comprehensive resource base. And we're in a place where we can talk about it intelligently and design it as venture capitalists. I had a vision in 75 when I was at Harvard before I dropped out. And I'll admit it, instead of go to lunch with all these valedictorians, Harvard, it was a nerdy place. I hung out at MIT and dropped out a little bit later after this. But in 75, I had a really tight vision where a corporation in 75 has a committee meeting where they realize, if we keep going this way of just exploiting all the resources and going for maximum profit and not really caring about externalities, including waste, but also including the misery of our employees and all this other stuff, the collateral damage to whatever we're doing to people's, if we go along this way, the committee said, in 50 years, it's all going to crash or start coming apart or being real, toxic. What do? So they envisioned, well, let's imagine an alternative way of approaching all these benefits from a less backstabby, a more cooperative approach. And who do we need to send as personnel into a valley that had all the necessary resources? And they realized we got to invite 16 other corporations. So there's one global corporation like General Motors, already diversified. But they needed 16 others to approximate the complexity of what it would take to consciously do this. And that's why that's a pretty tough pitch to venture capitalists. Say, we're going to just do the all, join our future tribe and you got it all covered. And we're sort of as if a nation / corporation / tribe / gang. You don't want to go there. But, we have all this music and art and we're like an effective. But if you do that as a company, you're not so exclusive and you open the boundaries. And that was one vision. The other one came in 2013 because I realized I'm never going to be able to pitch that to anybody because nobody's going to want to do it. It's like incredibly like, what's the point unless you're giving it all away? But that is the point. And now we understand that we kind of need to give it all away intelligently to get everybody back in the game. But people don't trust anybody giving things away. So it has to get pitched. as here, as an employee, wouldn't you rather work for a company that has your resources covered? And you're going to have to give up some, I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of jobs to be done. And if you're flexible about what you're willing to do, you can compromise and say, well, this is what I really want to do. And here's what we need people to do. And you do some of both. And it's a much more relaxed, flex. You start intelligently sharing resources from co-op ownership. It's a goal. It's not a mandate. And this gets pitched right now to venture capitalists that are coming to America with all these bazillion dollars. And then these are models that can spread all over the world. I was trying to get to how fast things can change. And right now in February, where it's still too cold to really do anything, and I got to get a few bucks together. I don't do GoFundMe. Somebody want to help me with that? I'll have a hard time asking for anything because I'm the one usually helping people out. But I'm a little tight because I've been helping people out. The permaculture movement, particularly in Uganda and Kenya, is a model of how you take first building blocks and start to maybe conceptualize hamlets to community, self-sufficiently, also integrated to the global economy. But getting back to currency, if you have credit with networks of real resource, that's real currency. That's real, valuable currency. And that could be just, you have a personal account with all these businesses. Businesses transform into community co-op resource ventures. Because business already has the pejorative coming from the left that it's all self-serving and for our profit. It's like, no, we're keeping the book. And then we have a little bit we can reinvest and possibly start sharing more benefits. And that's how you arrive at a global economy and society where everybody's got the best that we can all offer each other without everybody putting their trips on each other. So it's a free market as a political approach. You hold that together with, I say the neighborhood party unlimited. You keep it unlimited on one end so you can accommodate all the different levels of interaction, and you have a general principle of honoring the various neighborhoods on their own terms. And whoever you are, you have your neighborhoods to have your back, and then you have protocols of interaction. And then you may have standards of like, yeah, we're not allowing a neighborhood to participate if they're doing this and this to their own people on some level. But on another level, that's really none of our business. So that one, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because what are we going to do? Well, just not talk to you. It's not like we're going to force you to do anything unless you're getting in our face, etc. You go back to natural, organic boundaries, and the whole thing becomes reasonable and doable. I was trying to say practical, and I got 2 minutes left because Facebook cuts me off in 15:45. The other video I dropped today on both YouTube and Facebook is a half hour, and it's very comprehensive. That could be turned into an essay. But every paragraph is a new theme and point, and it scatters in a lot of directions because there's an experiential, and you might as well say spiritual side to all this. And all of us have some kind of belief. And right now we're all pitted against each other and in fear because there's an amazing craziness happening. You can explain it purely materialite. A very complex society overshooting its boundaries on the revved up strategy of letting everybody in it for themselves with enough stress that they were going to start inventing new shit. And that moved science and inventions along pretty quick. But in the process, we kind of lost touch with everybody's meaningful connection to wholesome community, where sharing is the actual dominant value that's respected. And the question is, we first of all can't complain. We're going to crash into something that we didn't choose. But if we choose to balance these intelligently, we can. This is a proposition that will sell in the marketplace. And if the left and people pointing fingers at ventures that aren't government backed can stop pointing fingers and consider the possibility that we're just trying to get directly to left-wing values without having all that paperwork and bureaucracy forcing us to do it. That's the high ground, could be the high ground of left and right. Because the left high ground is values that respect everybody's intrinsic rights, shall we say, whether from God or nation or wherever you want to come from. But then we get to a place where we have to share, and can we do that intelligently without subverting the whole motivation to continue to each of us have our own uh, vision of what we want to do, ongoing education, motivation to keep inventing things because we're all going to share and have a more delightful time of it. You share the work properly, and we can start working less. If you do it in the context of communities, then you can start scaling back without leaving anybody behind because these communities have the resource base as their primary goal, so, providing instead of profiteering. Coming up on the 10 seconds. There might be more to say. Check out the other half hour one, and this is all keep moving, man.